Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Life Olden Health. A warm greeting to all the seniors. Have you ever wondered if the routine health checkups we've trusted for so long always provide real benefits? I used to have no doubts at all. Like most people, I believe the more frequent the checkups, the better the peace of mind, the longer and healthier the life. However, a shocking truth began to unfold gradually as I witnessed what happened to my loved ones, particularly after they crossed the threshold of 70 years old. That truth is, routine health checkups don't always protect us. In fact, sometimes these seemingly harmless checkups can quietly take away our peace, our health, and even our happiness. Hard to believe, right? I used to think the same way. But when my father, who is over 83 years old, and I went for a regular health checkup last weekend, I had an eye-opening experience that forced me to rethink everything I had believed in. It was a crisp autumn day when I guided my father into the largest hospital in the city. As usual, he underwent a full range of tests: blood work, urine tests, endoscopy, ultrasound, as well as heart and lung checkups, liver and pancreas screenings. These tests were all part of a program called Comprehensive Health Screenings for the Elderly. A week later, we returned to hear the results. The young doctor's face was serious, as he recommended we do more in-depth tests. The reason was that some of my father's readings were slightly above the normal range. I looked at my father, who is over 80, and his face showed a hint of confusion. I asked the doctor, "Are these additional tests really necessary for someone my father's age?" He looked at me and then at my father, letting out a soft sigh. Honestly, he replied, "Not all of them are necessary. At this age, we need to be selective. Just because a reading is slightly off doesn't mean it's a sign of a serious disease." I suddenly became aware. You know what shocked me even more? The statistics published by a medical university. 68% of people over the age of 70 undergo medical tests that aren't actually necessary. The consequences of this are not only financial costs, but also the creation of constant anxiety and even unnecessary treatments. Sometimes these treatments can be more dangerous than the condition they were supposed to prevent. My father was lucky enough not to get caught in this cycle, but millions of elderly people are not as fortunate. I remembered the story of Mr. William, our old neighbor. Mr. William was extremely meticulous about his health. Every year, he'd go for a full checkup. One year, during a routine blood test, the doctor found a slightly elevated liver enzyme level. Immediately, he was scheduled for a series of tests, including liver ultrasound, MRI, and even a liver biopsy. The process dragged on for months. Each time he would stay up all night waiting for the results, filled with anxiety. In the end, the results showed there was nothing serious. The elevated enzyme was just a normal age-related change. But the mental anguish he endured during those months left lasting scars. From a cheerful, optimistic person, Mr. William became withdrawn, often sighing, unable to sleep, and his health rapidly deteriorated after that. This is just one of thousands of heartbreaking stories that happen quietly, because we don't realize that after 70, health checkups need to be selective. More is not always better. At the age of 40 or 50, early detection and treatment can save lives. But by the time you're 70 or 80, the goal is no longer just to detect diseases. The priority is to maintain quality of life, preserve joy, and avoid unnecessary medical interventions. I still remember what the doctor told me that day. As we age, our bodies change naturally. Not every change is a sign of disease. Trying to make everything fit the standards of youth can sometimes be more dangerous than accepting these natural changes. I was struck by this. All these years, we've been chasing perfection in numbers like blood pressure, blood sugar, and cholesterol, forgetting that people aren't machines, and that every stage of life has its own standards. That day, I helped my father out of the hospital under the soft golden sunlight. I suddenly realized that the most valuable thing I could do for him was not to push him into endless tests, but to give him peaceful, free, and complete days. I promised myself that, from that moment on, I would no longer chase pointless tests. I would learn to listen to my father's body, listen to the quiet signals of aging. I would walk with him every morning, share simple, warm meals, laugh with him and the grandchildren, and savor every simple yet precious moment. If you still have your parents, please remember, don't let test results take away their peaceful days. Let love, laughter, and the warm companionship of family be the strongest medicine. Health after 70 isn't just in the hands of medicine. It's in every moment we cherish and preserve life for those we love the most. On the way home from the hospital, my father sat quietly beside me, his frail hands folded. The late autumn sunlight streamed through the car window, casting a white snow-like glow over his silver hair. I looked at him, my heart full of mixed emotions. A question kept echoing in my mind. How many times in our lives have we unconsciously pushed our parents into unnecessary tests just to reassure ourselves? A few days later, I decided to visit our longtime family doctor, an older gentleman known for his calm and understanding manner. I told him about my father's test results, the slightly elevated numbers, and the recommendation for further testing. The doctor nodded thoughtfully. "You know," he said, "when people pass 70, the goal of healthcare is no longer to hunt down every potential illness. It's about preserving their quality of life." He emphasized that not every number above the normal range meant treatment was necessary. At this age, many physiological changes are completely normal. The key is to ask whether these changes truly affect their daily life. Would these tests or interventions improve their life, or just add more anxiety? I was taken aback. All these years, whenever I saw the words high or abnormal in a test result, I automatically assumed it was dangerous. I never asked myself what those results really meant at this age. The doctor smiled gently and then told me a story about one of his patients, Mr. Harris, a healthy 77-year-old man who loved gardening. During a routine checkup, Mr. Harris's cholesterol levels were slightly elevated. The hospital immediately recommended he start taking cholesterol-lowering medication. But Mr. Harris's family doctor carefully analyzed the situation and decided that at his age, that level of cholesterol was not a significant issue. If he took the medication, he would face the risk of muscle pain and liver damage, side effects much worse than the elevated cholesterol itself. In the end, Mr. Harris chose not to take the medication. Instead, he changed his diet, walked every day, and continued caring for his garden. He lived another 10 healthy, happy years, free from muscle pain and without getting caught in the medication cycle. That story was like a light bulb going off in my head. I started to realize that just because a test shows something abnormal doesn't mean treatment is immediately necessary. Not every deviation from the norm is a dangerous sign. Not every medical intervention benefits the elderly. Sometimes, over-intervention can be the cause of their suffering in the years they have left. After that conversation, my father and I sat down together and went over all the test results. We asked the doctor which numbers truly affected his daily life. If we didn't treat them, what would happen? Would the treatment's benefits really justify the risks? In the end, out of the long list of tests the hospital suggested, we only chose 2 important ones: tests to detect the risk of stroke and cardiovascular complications, things that could seriously affect quality of life. We chose to decline all other tests that, even if abnormal, would not change the natural aging process. I've never seen my father so happy after a checkup. He smiled a relieved smile. No more endless hospital stays. No more trembling at the sight of test results. From then on, instead of worrying about test results every day, my father and I would take slow walks together in the nearby park each morning. We breathed in the fresh air, reminisced about old stories, and laughed together like old friends. I realized that caring for the elderly isn't about trapping them in a cycle of illness and medicine. It's about giving them the freedom to live each precious moment of their remaining time fully. The older they get, what they need isn't control, but companionship. Not needles, chemotherapy, and heavy warnings, but smiles, leisurely steps, sunsets, and birdsong. If you have elderly parents, please remember, don't rush into every test out of fear. Ask the right questions, think carefully, and listen to your loved one's body and wishes. Help them preserve their joy, freedom, and peace of mind. Because at old age, living joyfully and lightly is the most healing form of care.